The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Just like candy.
Hi everybody, it's Candace Harper from Ask for Candy, and if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free, and there's certain creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, and my purpose with this podcast is to create healthy, romantic relationships all around the world through self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. But before we get to that, we are now partnered with Celebrity Magazine and part of Celebrity TV, and from now on, we will be going live every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can also watch us at celebrity.com, Celebrity TV, and subscribe to Celebrity TV on YouTube so you can be alerted when we go live. Except this week we are not live with Celebrity TV because I am currently living in Jersey and we had a major storm and the power went out, the internet went out, and I am doing this as bare bones minimum as I can on my phone just to make sure that you guys get a fresh show this week. We canceled the live broadcast on social media, and we won't have a YouTube video for this one, but those of you who listen every week, I could not let you down. Those of you who listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the different places where you get the actual podcast, I couldn't let you down. So I had to go ahead and just jump on and, just jump on my Anchor app and start recording. So don't forget to subscribe to our audio broadcast. Ask for Candy on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you normally download your podcasts. And you can email us at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. And any questions or topics you want to talk about will be answered or talked about in a later broadcast. So, for those of you who've been listening, you know that for almost 9 years, I have been a relationship coach and a workshop facilitator, and now I am a professional matchmaker as well with Talkify dating service. And if you've never heard of it, it's an amazing digital service where you can hire a matchmaker to do all the sifting and vetting on your behalf. And it's especially great for people who struggle with initiating contact or simply picking the right partner. Matchmaking and relationship coaching are my zone of genius, and the best part about it is that week to week, I get to grow and learn as I interact with people around the most intimate parts of their lives, and I get to meet and nurture new clients. I get to screen possible dating candidates for them, and I get to design programs and activities that deepen their ability to get to know each other. Most importantly, I get to be a part of what supports healthy beginnings and sustainably healthy relationships. I get to be the cause of self-love, soul connections, and sweetness. And tonight, stick around for the whole show. I think I'm probably going to do a matchmaker moments. I often do them, or I just started doing them every show when we're with Celebrity. I might do it tonight as well. But tonight, I guess, because we were going to cancel, I had a topic all lined up, and my process is usually week to week. I get all fired up about something I want to talk about and then start getting ready for it. And what's great about working with Celebrity TV is that, when we're with a live broadcast and we're doing videos, they also can set up clips for me and I can sort of, talk about the clip or whatever. And tonight would have been a great night for that. But we're definitely going to do it next week. So this is going to be part 1 of this topic that I want to talk about. And then next week is going to be part 2. So this may or may not be a foreshortened version of our normal podcast. It all depends. I'm kind of, thinking through this topic and working it all out. And I'm hoping that you will stay and come back for both parts. So lately, I've been thinking about a lot of different things around transformation and the chrysalis and dating and things like that. And I always watch other dating coaches. I like to watch other people who are in the realm of love, and, whether it's that they're other matchmakers, or they're coaching people how to flirt with each other, or, flirt in order to like pick up artists or whatever, or people who are actually helping people get into a relationship. I don't know if you can hear the German Shepherd breathing hard. I don't know why we just got back from a walk. Whatever it is, I like to listen to what other people, men and women, are saying about love and relationships. And so I got into this, and I think they sort of work in circles. They're almost like these little transformation mafias, right? Where it's like similar types of people tend to run in the same circles as far as talking about love and dating and transformation. And so there's this new little circle that I broke into, as far as, listening to each other, Kevin Samuels and Rebecca Lynn Pope, and it led into this podcast called the Roommates Podcast, which I'd heard of before because they often have Stéphane Labossiere. I think I'm saying his name right. And if you know any of these names, you know that these are people of color in the transformation world as far as dating, lifestyle, all that stuff. A lot of the stuff that I talk about. And, I listen to these people, and I actually really like a lot of what they say. Some of it, I don't agree with everything, but I don't think that we're here to agree with everything. We don't have to agree with everything. But I'll tell you what the trajectory was. I started listening to this guy, Kevin Samuels, who is an interesting character. I mean, he's very much that kind of, he's a lifestyle coach, or he identifies as a lifestyle coach. And he's very much that status lifestyle kind of coach, which I think is more often men than women, but there are women that do it too, where it's like, if you want to have a lifestyle of status, and it's about how much you have and labels and, having a certain amount of money, which I don't necessarily think that everyone who earns and wants money it's about status. Money isn't necessarily always status. Sometimes it's certainty. Sometimes it's, I know for me, it's about legacy. It's about taking care of my family. It's about freedom, being able to go wherever I want when we're not in COVID times. It's not about, I don't care about designer labels and, whether I'm wearing Louboutins and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If that's what you care about and that's what you're into. I do like fashion. I do like being stylish, but I don't consider, spending money on those kinds of things unless those things are given to me, or, because I like to style myself, and I'll style myself from anywhere because I'm creative that way. I just don't think that that's a effective and fruitful way to use my abundance. But that's just me. I can still look at another lifestyle coach, and if that's what they're coaching, if they're coaching status life, where it's like, who you rub shoulders with and what you wear and, what restaurants you eat at and stuff like that. Some people care a lot about that stuff, and that's their business. And they care a lot about that stuff as it pertains to their relationships too. So a lot of what he coaches is how to be with high value prospects. And by high value, what I surmise from listening to him, he means people who, have money and degrees, men in particular, because he definitely pushes the idea that, it's that men, he works with, I guess, men in being high value men, having high education and high income and living a lavish lifestyle and all of that stuff. Nothing wrong with that. And coaches women around being able to be with those men. And the only thing that bothers me about it is that there is a level of exclusion in it, which I don't subscribe to. I think that there's a cap for every bottle. And I do think that he's right in the sense that that to be with someone, you have to have alignment and you have to be on a certain level that's similar to their level. But I also believe that, when people are excluded based on things that aren't character oriented or core value oriented from a place of humanity, not money or not possessions, then the sustainability of relationships is iffy at best. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going way off on a tangent, but I think that, what he's coaching sets people up for a certain kind of relationship, a certain kind of lifestyle, a certain kind of status that for me is not a purpose-driven, I don't think it speaks to our humanity and our real, like how we really emotionally connect and vulnerability and all of that stuff. I don't know. Maybe I, don't know him well enough to be sure, but that's what I surmise so far. But what's great is that he was talking about a woman who used to be a matchmaker who's now in the healing space, Rebecca Lynn Pope, who I had never heard of until he was talking about her. And so I got to discover her, and I actually love her. I love her so much. Like, watching her videos and, she's just very, I love the things that she says. I think that she's very beautiful. I think that she has a great deal of, I just love the way she carries herself. And I think that she's a sensible, sharing kind of person. From what I've seen of her content. And I love the transition that she made from being a matchmaker to wanting to be a healer and someone who helps people grow from their limits. And it was interesting. And next week, what I'm going to do is actually play the clip of her talking about how she and why she decided to quit matchmaking. Because as a matchmaker, I completely understand what she's talking about. So my trajectory has been a little different because I started out in the healing space and the transformation space, and I'm still very, very much in it. And then became a matchmaker only recently, probably within the last 6 or 7 months, and am very conscious of the fact that the healing and the growth and the transformation part of it is so important when it comes to the matchmaking. Because everything that she said, and next week when you listen to the podcast, you'll get to hear her clip, or even I'll direct you to the video about how we as women, and she talks about men too in another interview, but I want to focus on women for this particular conversation because I saw myself in a lot of what she was saying as well. How we as women set our standards at such an impossible place, and then have these expectations, and particular women who have the means to hire a matchmaker. And what I run into a lot with both the men and women, because I work with both men and women, I have equal clients of each, is that people who hire a matchmaker do tend to believe that they are ordering from a catalog or off of Amazon. Like they think that because they're hiring a matchmaker that there's going to be this instant exactly what I want. I'm going to get exactly what I'm asking for, and I deserve it, and I'm paying for it. So, I'm basically buying my person. I'm buying my soulmate, which is an interesting thing to navigate, because if you were to ask any of them that, they would say, oh, no, that's not at all how I feel. But what we say sometimes is very different than how we behave. So, as much as I love and adore my clients, and I love and adore them because they are in transformation and, going through their changes and all of that stuff, and because they do come in with a certain attitude and then leave with a different one. But, I say all of that to say it's this saying that, no, I get that I can't have everything on my list, but then behaving in a way that's, if someone's not exactly what I want them to be, I'm going to rate them really low. I'm going to have insulting, critical things to say about them. I'm going to make it all about that they're not good enough, or I'm going to make it that the video platform that we went on the date with was not good enough, or when we were meeting in person, I'm going to make it that wasn't good enough. I'm going to make that the problem. I'm going to, as their matchmaker, did you even talk to that person? Why do you think we were compatible? So then it's something that I did. It's like looking for why it's wrong when they don't like a person and focusing on what's wrong and not liking anyone, not giving anyone a chance, not being open to what is possible as far as the process is concerned. So that's how that sticking to my standards thing kind of shows up. That's how you know someone thinks that they are entitled to getting exactly what they want because they've paid for it. And I've had a couple, I would say at least 3 solid clients, and I have a pretty high matchmaker rating. I take it very seriously. 3 solid clients who have quit and asked for a refund because they couldn't deal with the process. What they wanted was to pay their money and get their soulmate, period. They didn't want, any first or second dates that weren't perfect. They didn't want to deal with anything that didn't fit exactly in their list. And when I tell you that they would get very vitriolic and angry and want to go back and forth with me, I even have one right now, she's hesitant and, wanting to go back and forth with emails, and rather than just go ahead and go on the dates and see what works and, see what she can grow and learn out of it, or how she can grow and learn out of it. She just wants to have what she asked for, and that's it, as if she's ordering food from a restaurant. So what Rebecca Lynn Pope was talking about and why she quit matchmaking is because she got fed up with it. And from what she said in one of her videos, she calls the video a rant. And it is kind of a rant, but I get it because I just, so much of what she said resonated with me. She said that, she got into it with somebody and it just got so to a point where she was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not trying to help you shop for a person anymore. I don't know that she used those words, but that's basically what she was saying. And I totally got it. Now, with that said, part of what we're going to talk about next week is particularly for women over 40, because I think that for those of us, and I include myself in that vat, who are of a certain age and have been through some things and, are trying to navigate this dating space, I think there is a level of wishing that you could just order your ideal partner from a catalog. There is a level of wishing that it were easy and that you could have these high standards, even if you are not, I think she, on one interview, she made a point that a lot of women, they're demanding a 10 plus and they're a solid 6 is what she said, is the way she put it. And I know that can sound harsh to people, but it's true. Like, let's call it what it is. We are what we are as far as the looks scale, as far as the financial scale is concerned. But, deep down, we all have human value. And I think that what it comes down to is, what are we willing to do in order to have what I call the chrysalis, which is, what are you willing to do to transform from where you are to where you want to be? And I think the reason that Rebecca Lynn Pope in particular talks about why she went from matchmaking to healing is because she wanted to be part of what is the chrysalis. And she thought that the best way that she can do that is to drop the matchmaking, get out of that industry, and then just go straight for the healing. And I respect her for that. For me, I feel like because I started in the healing space, that being in the matchmaking space is sort of a calling. It's an opportunity to actually engage actively with people in this chrysalis. And I call it a chrysalis because it really, truly is that. For everything that you want in your life, wherever you start, you are going to have some sort of evolution in who you are and how you behave in order to get to where you want to be. And it's the chrysalis is the butterfly in the cocoon. And whatever it is that you need to do around who you are in order to align with what it is you say that you want, that's the cocooning. That's the part that you're taking care of. And I'm going to use myself as an example, because I am currently in my own chrysalis of a cocoon. People ask me all the time, like, how are you a matchmaker? How are you a relationship coach? And you are single. Well, I am in my chrysalis of a cocoon right now. So, a little bit of my backstory as an adult, I have been a serial monogamist. I've always been good at getting into relationships. Me and my sisters were all raised to be wives. My parents have been together for, I want to say almost 60 years, maybe something like that. Well, I think they were together for about 3 or 4 years, maybe before I was born. So wait, I'm 48. So 53 years my parents have been married. Both of my sisters have been married for a long time. My older sister has been married for 35 years. My younger sister, I think she's coming up on 20 years, possibly. And I'm the only one who's never gotten married, but I've always been in, and it was always one after another. So, getting a man has never been my problem. They always talk about catch him and keep him, and why can't you have a man? Why can't you get a man? That's never been a problem for me, which is why I went into this coaching space, because I feel as though, whatever you feel strong in, you feel experienced in, and also whatever challenges you. I always talk about your talents and times your passions, or your talents plus your passions times your challenges equals your purpose. So it makes me feel purposeful to help women transform into women who know how to be partners, who know how to be attractive to men, who know how to, or women if that's what they choose, who know how to get themselves into relationships. So, you ask me, well, Candace, why hasn't it worked out long term for you? And I'll tell you, because I was raised to be a wife, and on top of that, I had my own sense of rebellion around being a wife my entire adult life. And a lot of that had to do with things that I hadn't healed and transformed, old resentments, issues that I had with both my mother and my father, and what was never modeled for me, even though everyone, if I look at my aunts and uncles, almost all of them, except for I think maybe one aunt, actually all of them were married, but there was only 2 of them that ever got divorced. But there was never a modeling of a couplehood or a relationship that it looked like the woman was happy or wanted to be there. And even today, I love and adore my mother so much. And she and I have had some rocky times over the years. And now she has dementia. And I feel like a lot of her dementia has to do with her checking out of life. Checking out of a life that is not what she wanted it to be or what she decided it should be. And so, I'm a big believer in our beliefs and our mindset cause our physical ailments. If we believe negatively, if we see things in a negative way, we can cause physical ailments in our body. And, as far as aging and things like that, I think that when we have a negative mindset or an escapist mindset, these are the kind of things that can be brought on. Now, I know that from a science perspective, people might say, oh, no, it's just science. That's, it's genetic. It's this, it's that. I'm a big believer in the quantum physics of what you believe, what you say, how you behave in your life is what brings on how your body expresses it physically, whether it's that you're overweight, whether it's that you're getting heart disease, cancers, all that stuff. I think that those things are an expression of the buildup of negative thoughts and feelings. I say all of that to say, as much as I love my mother and my father, and they have been together for 53 or so years, they have always presented marriage and married life as a difficult, negative, challenging, unhappy thing. And that's what was modeled for me growing up. A lot of resentment, a lot of not speaking, a lot of arguing with each other without saying anything, a lot of my mom always complaining to us about my dad and dealing with him, and my dad always seemingly in a bad mood. Now, let me put that aside for a second just to say, my parents are good, solid Christian people who did the right thing by us. They always made sure that we ate. They always made sure that we were taken care of. We always had clothes on our backs. We went to college. They made sure we were educated. My mom was a reading teacher, so reading was a big thing. Like, they made sure that we were going to be Black women who grew up to be good, solid wives to what Kevin Samuels would call a high-value man. So, don't get me wrong. My parents were very good people, but very good people and even very high-status people can still be steeped in dysfunction. And so that's, like I said, what was modeled for me. And then I look at the relationships now of my sisters. And as much as I'm happy for what they have, my older sister, both of them have, what I would consider high value men that are educated and have a lot going for them. But from neither of them do I get a sense that there is a fulfillment and a happiness. maybe I'm doing the right thing. Maybe I'm proud of my husband. Maybe, I love my children. Definitely those things. But that personal kind of, I love my life, never felt that from any of the women in my family. Just a sense of, this is what I know I'm supposed to do. This is what I do. This is the right thing. And I want to be right. And even I want to be perfect. That's what was modeled for me growing up. So I spent most of my adult life, even though I was trained to be a wife, I'm good at inspiring, most people, and I don't even mean this to sound arrogant, but most people who are in relationship with me come out of it all the better in some way or another. They may or may not agree, but I had a 13-year relationship, or it was like 11 to 13 years, because we had some off and on time. And, he's a doctor at Johns Hopkins. So, the people that I date or have dated, their lives were bettered in the time that we were together. And whether it was that they were taking care of themselves better by the time we were done, and even if they hated me for leaving or, whatever, there was something in their lives that had changed for the better. And that's not because I'm saying, because I'm so great. But I do believe that part of my purpose is to leave anything that I leave better than when I got there. So there's that. And I say all of this to say that it's not always, and I think for a majority of women, it's not always for a majority of single women that we're just sitting around like, I can't get a man, and he needs to take me as I am, no matter how fat and no matter how uneducated, no matter how broke, no matter how whatever. I hate that narrative that that's what's going on with most women, because I don't believe that that's the case. I think that there are a lot of women like myself who are feminine and educated and want to be purposeful and feel like they have a purpose on this earth, want to contribute to their communities, are open to transformation, whether they're fully transformed or not, because we're all in different places of our journey. I do think that there are a lot of single women like that who exist, where actually coupling up is difficult for different reasons. And so I do think that, those were my reasons, because being in a long-term marriage or a relationship with a man, it was never modeled for me that was actually a positive thing for a woman. Now, that said, in my own transformation, in my own journey, my own chrysalis, I am of the understanding that it can be whatever I choose for it to be. At this point in my life, I do understand that. But at this point in my life, at 48 years old, even though I feel like I still got it, I just feel like I'm still physically attractive and all of that stuff for a 48-year-old. I also realize that, I'm sort of past the age of, coupling together so we can build a family or whatever. Not past the age of coupling together for partnership to be able to build something. But, obviously I'm not necessarily out for like trying to build a nuclear family, have a house and a couple cars and do that whole thing. Because most men my age or older have already done that and they're past that stage. So it's a different kind of dating that those of us who are in our 40s are looking for. It's a different kind of partnership. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about, first of all, the reason that I even mention people like Kevin Samuels and Rebecca Lynn Pope is because, as much as I respect what they're doing, that narrative that single women are single because we're out here, and Kevin Samuels talks a lot about women being too masculine and smart women, looking down on blue collar men, and, that we're out here in some sort of vitriolic, nasty, negative space. Sometimes, yes, sometimes that is true. And I think that what that is an indicator of the need for the chrysalis, the need for the love and the caring and the journey and someone to actually help through that, whether we can admit it or not. And I know that for me, that's what the case was. at one point when I had a list and I wanted people to meet up to my list, meet up to my standards. Because all that really is, whether it's men or women, is just a way to kind of self-sabotage connection. It's a way to try to control based on the past. And that's how we have the past inform the future, is that we try to control, and I think Rebecca Lynn Pope even talks about, like, make up a list based on what you've been through before that is anti whatever you've been through before. So, my last relationship, which I've talked about before, was an abusive relationship. So I might say, okay, I don't want to date anybody. I do say I don't want to date anybody who smokes weed, because he smoked weed all the time. I don't want to date anybody who, I don't know. I could make up whatever, listens to a certain kind of music, or dresses a certain way, or acts a certain way because it might remind me of him. Like, those kinds of things are kind of a ridiculous, controlling way to sort of sabotage our possibilities for connection. I think Rebecca Lynn Pope mentioned about how women get on the physical thing, where it's like, he's got to have height, he's got to have looks, he's got to have all of this. And not only does she talk about what small percentage of the population has those things, but also the fact that, we're so stuck on that those are the things, those are the romance novel things, those are the rom-com things that we feel like, that's what will make love great, is if he has those things that we can be physically attracted to, and if he also has the power and the alpha maleness and all of that stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about, is those kind of rules that we set to control what's possible for the future, and why people have such a hard time matchmaking women of a certain age, and men as well, but why it's so difficult and why people are so confused about it. And if you find that you are, in listening to this, are one of those women, you don't have to only be over 40. I know that I have some listeners who are just over 30. If you find that you feel like you're struggling with finding that person, and you're struggling with not wanting to lower your standards, and you're struggling with trying to have a list, I think that what I'm about to share is going to be really good for you. So I talked about the chrysalis. I talked about the willingness to transform, because often we think that when we have an epiphany, or let's call it an aha moment, that it's going to be like a light switch, that all of a sudden everything's going to open up and life's going to completely change for us, and the way we've done things is going to be completely different. But that's rarely the case. I mean, when we're doing transformation and growth, it's like exercise, and that's why I always equate coaching with a yoga practice, because the more you do something, the more you master it. You develop mastery. And if you think about that, certain beliefs that you've probably had for a very, very long time, you have to think about that you're practiced in having those beliefs. So whether it's that all men cheat, or that, black men ain't worth nothing, or that a man has to make a certain amount of money in order for you to be able to have a connection with him or have a sustainable relationship with him, or I don't know, things that people think about women, that women lie, women are manipulative, there's a lot of examples of what people how people generalize the opposite gender, or how people generalize people in general. All of that comes from, what we've experienced in the past, and, what we decide about people. And all of that is the stuff that kind of stands in our way. And it's also how we form our rules and our list of standards. So there's a couple things. There's 3 things that I'm going to really go into in depth next week in part 2. But there are 3 really big main things. The German Shepherd's getting excited. I don't know if somebody's coming around. But there are 3 really big main things that are really important as far as going into your chrysalis, from being a single woman to being a woman in a relationship. Now, wherever you are on your journey, this chrysalis is valuable. And for some, it will be more work than for others. And for some, you might be further along than others. But the idea here is to identify where you are and do what you need to do in order to get to where you want to be. right? Easy peasy. I am personally in my own chrysalis right now of self-understanding, and that has to do with the practices that I do every day, the things that I commit to doing every day, and the self-acceptance and self-love and self-understanding that I practice every day, and how I take care of my body, all of that stuff. But all of that stuff has to be authentic to who you are. So these are the three main things. Understand your true value. Heal your past. Heal or clean it up. And stabilize your standards. And so next week, I'm going to really delve into what I mean by each of these things. But I'm just going to give you a little taste this week so that you just kind of get an idea, so you know what you're in for. So as a woman over 40, even over 30, but specifically a woman over 40 who's dating and wants to be in a relationship and wants to make the chrysalis, wants to do the chrysalis. So you want to understand what your true value is as a woman over 40. So it's no longer your looks. You may be a beautiful woman over 40, but that is no longer your main value. When you're 25, maybe up to 35, that's your main value, or one of your main values is your beauty, especially if you're an extraordinarily beautiful woman. But you get to be a certain age, and it doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. It just means that if you're competing with that, if that's what your leverage is, it just doesn't have as much power as it used to, because it's not as youthful as it used to be. And I don't recommend that being your only leverage or your leverage at all. There's nothing wrong with, taking advantage of your pretty privilege, things like that. I have nothing against that. But if you feel that that is where your value lies, you will constantly disappoint yourself. Every time you wake up and see a new little wrinkle or, anything like that, it's going to be a really hard road for you. So it's not that you shouldn't want to look good, but the idea that that's what makes you valuable and that's where your power lies needs to be an idea that is released and transformed in order to have sustainable connections with people. And actually have people connect with you for you. Like any man who is, let's say, a wealthy man or a powerful man or, whatever, if his intention is to have a beautiful woman, he's not looking for a woman over 40. And he's not the man for you, not just because you're over 40, but because he's not looking for that kind of deep level action. He's looking for arm candy or someone to bolster his ego, or a trophy, or someone who, rape on his arm to look better for himself. So is that what you want in a relationship? Probably not. So there's a reason that we, as we age, we gain different things. So it's never been your accomplishments. So your value has never been in your accomplishments. I have clients who are lawyers and neuroscientists and just educated, wealthy, just, well-developed women intellectually. And I don't know how much they understand this, but to understand in general that men don't care. Not that men don't want you to be educated, not that men don't want a woman that they can talk to, but your ability to achieve, awards and accolades and high levels of income and all of that stuff, it's inherently built in our biological chemistry as far as the differences in the genders. And men do not look for women who are high achievers unless they're looking for a woman who will take care of them. And I don't know, I have a number of doctors as well. Actually, I have a couple new doctors, and they do really well financially. They're high achievers. They've won awards. They're really making strides in whatever their field is. And it's amazing and it's impressive. But when it comes to romantic relationships, men don't care. So that's not where your value lies as a woman over 40. It's not where your value lies at any age as far as romantic relationships. It makes you very valuable to your community, and it makes you very valuable to society. It does not make you valuable to a romantic relationship. Men don't care about that. If they are attracted to who you are as a person, meaning like your femininity and the way you talk to them and how they feel when they're with you, a sense of understanding, all of that stuff, They really don't care about whether you are, you've won a Pulitzer, or if you've gotten some medical award, or if you make, half $500,000 a year, whatever it is. They don't care unless they want that, they want you to take care of them, and you don't want to do that. Obviously, over a certain age, it's not your fertility. Your value is no longer there. Sure, if you are still fertile and you can still have children and that's something you want to do, I'm all for doing what you can do, in vitro, natural, however you can do it. I'm all for that. I'm not saying give up on it because you're over age 40. People do it over 40 all the time, even though it's not as common. But when you're young, there is a value in your fertility. There is a value in what men a lot of men want to start families. A lot of men want that experience with a woman. And so when you're of a certain age, you're not in competition in that realm anymore. So to feel like, and I say that to say, to feel like that you have any value in that space of like, I can bear his children and all of that stuff. I don't know. I think it can be very disempowering. I'm not saying it's impossible, because I believe in possibilities, but it can be very disempowering for a woman of a certain age to feel like her fertility speaks to her value as a human being. Because as that starts to dissipate, or it starts to become more challenging, it can also inform how we feel about ourselves, and that's a dangerous sort of slippery slope. Also, it's not your amazing vagina anymore after a certain age. I mean, even if you get the vaginal rejuvenation, all of that stuff, like to be luring men with sex and things like that, if you want a relationship, is just counterproductive. I don't want to shame anybody, because I don't like, that's the one thing. As much as I respect Kevin Samuels' hustle, I think he's a shamer. And I know his heart is in the right place, and he wants people to grow and change and all of that. I don't feel like that it helps people to shame them. So if you're a woman out there who is really using seduction, and you're of a certain age, but what you really want is a connective relationship, understand that the seduction is not valuable as far as sustainable relationships. There's nothing wrong with seducing someone you're sexually attracted to, but be in awareness about what you're doing. And if you're consistently in the seduction game, I have a little girl I take care of, and her grandmother's actually younger than me, and she looks like J-Lo. It's beautiful, but her whole game is seduction. And she's an older woman who's very sexy, very beautiful. Nothing wrong with being all of those things, but wants love and connection, and somebody who, is going to stick around when she's not beautiful anymore, but hasn't let go of that card, that cachet, in the sense that she, that's what she uses. That's what she uses to, attract and have these fly-by-night relationships. So next week, I am going to talk about where your value truly lies. And the list is a lot longer. And I think the understanding that these are the things that really mean something when you're a woman of a certain age, and really get you connected to someone else and can really make it sustainable. I think, and that these are the things to be looking at and improving on. I think that's going to be the thing that helps you begin the chrysalis, and helps you get steeped in the chrysalis. The second thing I said was healing up the past. So next week we're going to talk about, like, what does that mean to heal the past at this age? A lot of times, people are so quick to say they've forgiven things. I forgive, but I haven't forgotten. Or, they say that they've moved on from something, but yet they still come with this list of, I had this experience before, so I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this. I gave the example of, my ex-boyfriend. I could say all of these things that I don't want that are like him because he was abusive. And so that's me letting the past inform the future, assuming that, someone who has a similarity to him in any way is going to do the same thing that he did, without taking any responsibility for who I was in the relationship, for the fact that it's in the past, and that I can create something new with someone new, even if they, have the same, whatever it might be. So that's the thing I'm talking about, is when you heal the past, you don't need to put up those roadblocks. Your list of standards doesn't have to be so stringent. It doesn't have to be so entitled and out of the realm of possibility when you have let go of what you've been through before, when you have healed your traumas, when you have looked into the eye of the storm of, and we all have it. Like I said, I had all this resentment with my parents that had to do with a lot of different things that I experienced when I was young. And until I was willing to really look at those things and get therapy and coaching and allow my community to be part of my healing and stop my lone wolfing, lone wolf syndrome, and heal up those past things, until I was willing to really do that, I just wasn't open for sustainable relationship. I wasn't open for long-term relationship. I was just jumping from one live-in situation to the next and not being able to be alone for any amount of time whatsoever. And that's how I got in trouble and got into an abusive relationship, because I couldn't be alone. I had to get somebody in, just because that was the habit, and that had to do with not healing what was going on in the past. And so next week, we're going to talk about the steps to take in order to do that, to really get into the healing of the past. And then the third thing that I was talking about was stabilizing your standards. So, one of the things about the list of standards, the list of things that people want, I do often ask the question, as a matchmaker, I have an algorithm. I match by core values, lifestyle, and sexual physical attraction. Obviously, that one's a little bit subjective, so I don't always hit on that one perfectly. But because that is an aspect, I ask people what they want physically. So there's nothing wrong with having a desire for a certain physicalness about a person. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to certain things about other people. It's how we're built as human beings. But when we get to a certain place in our adulthood where we're still having a stringency around, I had a client I was talking to the other day who her age range is between 40 to 55, and she doesn't want him to have any kind of a gut or any kind of a belly. And so good luck finding a man between the ages of 40 to 55 who has washboard abs or no belly. They're out there, but they are probably such a small part of the population that, and I don't know the percentage on it, but that, it's like you set yourself up for sabotage. And is that gut, is that belly really going to be the thing that, keeps you from having a happiness and a sustainability with somebody? Is it going to impede your ability to have a relationship with them? Well, yeah, if you're stuck on that he has to have a flat stomach. Right? But no, if you're focusing on that he's a really great guy who is really responsible about his children and his past and has healed himself and has his own level of self-love and self-acceptance, is compassionate, he's kind to people, he cares about his own life, his lifestyle, his hygiene, his living, his coming and going. He's respectful. He's in integrity with his word. He says what he does and does what he says he's going to do. It's not about, it goes back to what Kevin Samuels, he really pushes the whole high level thing. I think what makes someone a high level, high value human being is that they can keep their word, that their integrity is rock solid, that they love and accept themselves enough that they don't have to pour all their insecurities all over you. That's a high value person. A high value person cares about their community. High value person, is out there mentoring and not necessarily for money. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with earning money for what you do, but actually cares about what young people are up to. High value person is out there involved in community service, making sure hungry people are getting fed. A high value person is really good with their kids. A high value person doesn't talk negatively about past relationships. A high value person can laugh at himself and can have fun and run the whole gamut. I know I'm digressing, but I started to get into my list of standards. And, when we talk about stabilizing your standards, we're going to talk about what it means to embody all the things you say you want. Because when your list for what you want is a list of core values, then you can also embody all of those things. When your list is a list of like, oh, he's got to have a 9-inch penis and he's got to be 6'5" and he's got to make this amount of money, you can't embody those things. And to attract those things, another thing Rebecca Lynn Pope was saying about how that's such a small percentage of the population that's over 6, I think she said over 6 feet. There's 3% of the population or something like that. And then she narrowed it down because she was talking about, then you got to eliminate the people in prison and the people who are married and the people, whatever. So then it's even a smaller percentage. So you want to come up with a list that has to do with core values that you yourself can embody, that you yourself can live up to. And so next week, we're really going to get into these 3 things: understanding your true value, healing and cleaning up the past, stabilizing your standards. And those are the 3 things that are sort of what moves along your chrysalis, what supports you in your chrysalis, in your cocooning for change. And I'm also going to talk about all the things that I do as I am now in my own chrysalis, about to emerge as a butterfly in a relationship. Probably in a relationship. I think so. I mean, I think it's time. It's weird right now being a matchmaker and during all this pandemic stuff and this COVID stuff, because first of all, I meet guys all the time that I would potentially date, but I'm too busy making matches for them or matching them, with people. So I don't want to, break any rules or anything like that. But I have to say, in this time of the pandemic and, a lot of isolation and stuff like that, I have been taking care of my body, getting in the best shape of my life. I've been working on my mind, just doing all the reading and research. I'm getting a hypnotherapy license. And I say all of that to say that it's not about achievement, but it's about, my transformation, concentrating on my femininity, taking belly dancing classes, really being in touch with my sexual pleasure and what that means. And I'm transforming who I am, who I be when I'm in the world moving about with other people. I know that's not correct grammar, but it's about, my being, because that's feminine energy, right? Where are you in your being? And there was a time where I was all like, in control, masculine energy, had to control it, hustle, do what I say. It's got to be this, it's got to be that. I have a million rules. If it's not this, if it's not that, then I don't want it. Like, just so, cut and dry about how things had to go. And it didn't serve me. It doesn't serve me. It didn't serve me in the long run. It didn't serve me in relationships ultimately. And it didn't serve to make me happy. And it really was about coming from a place of not really truly loving and accepting myself. And that's what it comes down to. You can teach an old dog new tricks. And I don't mean to call any of you ladies old. I'm 48, so I'm not casting aspersions. I feel like you're only as old as you mentally allow yourself to be, as far as oldness is concerned as a social construct. But it is possible to renew at any age. It is possible to undergo a chrysalis, and it is possible to let go of all those stringent rules that we put in place that sabotage our ability to have everything that we want. But we're going to talk about that more next week. I want to be able to leave y'all with a little something. I want to be able to have some, and we're going to play the Rebecca Pope clip next week, or at least a couple clips, and dive into how you can really be in the chrysalis, and also how I take my clients right now. I from day one, when I talk to my clients, I talk about this is going to be a chrysalis for you. And what you're going to come out of it with, because I never promise that you're going to meet your soulmate. I never make that promise. I think that's part of what puts too much pressure on it. And that might have been the pressure that Rebecca Lynn Pope was under, is feeling like she had to match them with a soulmate. And then here they come with all these impossible standards. But I don't say that. What I say is that I am committed to you coming out relationship ready, or in your journey, in your transformation, and on your way to the possibility of finding a relationship. And he may or may not, or she may or may not come from me. You're in action around your dating life, and you're doing what you need to do in order to have an active dating life. And that is how you will manifest and attract what you want. If you're in it and you're willing to make changes within yourself, you're willing to heal things, you're willing to understand your true value, heal the past, and stabilize your standards, then you can have what you want. I strongly believe that. I believe that for myself. I believe that for others. This hour goes by so fast, and I can't wait to continue this topic next week. Should I do a matchmaker moment? I have a lot of new clients right now. I don't know who I should feature for this particular show. I do have a beautiful, beautiful woman in the Dallas area, and she's open to Dallas and Austin. She's young. She's, I think, 31, and she is just gorgeous and so sweet and funny and loves dogs and lives on her own right now. She's a pharmacist, and she's ready to get married, have kids, do that whole thing. And I think that she would definitely make someone a really great partner, a really great wife. And she doesn't have a lot of crazy standards. I mean, she has standards, but she gets it with the core value thing. And I love her. If you think that she might be a match for you, or you know someone who might be a great match, you can email me, askforcandypodcast@gmail.com, and say, I want to be matched. And I'll get you into the Talkify system and get you screened and see if you might be a good possibility for my client. So next week we will be back with Celebrity TV. We will be back with regular internet, a live broadcast on social media. Every Monday I do the Epic Circle. If you want to join us, it's digital, no matter where you are in the world, wherever you're listening from. You go through Eventbrite. It's called the Epic Circle. The Epic Circle. Find it. EPIC stands for enough, peaceful, illuminated, and courageous. And we come together as a community. We cause personal transformation when it comes to communication, forgiveness, self-love, mother-daughter relationships, purpose, friendships, just all the tools we need to be as big as we were meant to be. It is part of your Chrsysalis, and we will help you with, having daily routines that support your cocooning into a butterfly. Anyway, as always, I love you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to Celebrity TV YouTube channel so you can watch these podcasts. And I think that's it. You can find me on Instagram at AskForCandyPodcast or at Candy Love Coach. Until next time, never forget you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and then ask for candy. Love you so much. Bye now.